Welcome back, YouTubers, to another TNA live Impact Wrestling review with us, the British Fist. Live here on YouTube. It's Mr. Parkin in this corner, and this guy sitting next to me here. It's none other than ready to fight any motherfucker in the YW singing in the wrestling business. It's none other than NJ.
What's up?
Was that your Let's Kick John Cena's ass pose there?
Yes, and Joseph Parks.
And Joseph, alright, fair enough. I don't know why you want to kick his ass, but subscribe over, like this video, and comment any thoughts you have on this TNA Impact Wrestling show down in that comment section below.
And make sure you contact us in the link in the description box below.
Indeed, and on the way to Destination X, we're hoping for some good hype on this go-home show. We got some pretty good hype for Destination X, and also, it seems like next week's show is going to be treated as like a post X Division pay-per-view sort of Impact Wrestling sort of 2-hour pay-per-view, doesn't it, kind of?
Well, obviously I'm going to compare it quickly to WWE. When they have this big special non-pay-per-view show, 1,000 episode, and then treat it like a pay-per-view, I guess TNA got the idea of making something special following their pay-per-view, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, they traditionally do it following the All X Division pay-per-view, and then the next show they usually make it into like a sort of pay-per-view with some pay-per-view matches and stuff, which we got tonight. We'll go on with the opener. We open up with something different. It's nice to see TNA keeping the opener nice and refreshing sometimes. We open up with Bully Ray cutting one of his typical great heel promos. Turns out he is now live on Twitter at RealBully5150. We've immediately followed him, didn't we?
We did indeed. And when I start tweeting him, you better reply.
Yeah, Bully Ray better reply. But if he's going to bully you and get heel heat, you probably won't reply. Probably just say F you or something like that. So after Bully Ray talks for a little while, out comes Joseph Park, and Bully Ray accepts his match. It's going to be for next week. Park says he's already beaten my Slammiversary. So it seems like right now, Park is like, we're at the stage where Joseph Park is standing up to the bully, and it's amazing how well that character is being played as well by Joseph Park, and it just works so well, doesn't it, this storyline?
That's very true. At first, with Joseph Park's character, I was really against, because I was like, yeah, you're just being a bitch. A bitch is the guy we want to see, not you. But eventually, as it grew up, they worked on the whole bullying side to it. They got to a match where the fans obviously want to see it, so Joseph Park to get over on Bully Ray. But now they're swerving it around where Bully Ray's getting the power again over his victim. It's
just two characters being played very well, and that just helps the storyline so much. We get the thing at the end where Bully Ray pulls out a restraining order saying Abyss cannot be in this match. And yeah, you kind of think to yourself, now what's Joseph Park going to do?
There's a few people who would say this is a bad thing, weak-sided Bully, that he has to get a restraining order to keep someone out of the match. But the way I see it is a tactic to keep one guy out of the way so Joseph Park is all his. There's no Abyss that can interfere. Joseph Park is doomed. Bully Ray's going to... Because he mentioned all the weapons, it's any weapons allowed. So they're really hyping this up to what could be Bully Ray's revenge.
I can imagine a lot of ECW fans are going, ECW! 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 That company's dead. But a good opener. I really did enjoy this opener.
Well, Bully Ray to open and hype him something that was happening next week. I think it worked perfectly for the show and got my enjoyment ready for the show because of Bully Ray.
Just simply done by two characters being very well cast in their roles, pretty much. It was kind of cool when we had backstage, we had A double and H double, and we had Hogan saying that Aries is going to have to give him the X Division belt later tonight, and that would be our main event.
Very starting warming up for what we're getting later, got to the point, and it was a quick promo that worked.
Yeah, H double and A double. That works just as well. Just as well as that little thing I just said there. In our next segment, we had a TV title defense. Devon, exactly, yeah, we haven't had it for the last couple of weeks, but Devon versus Crimson. Kind of got the impression in this match that they may have returned Crimson to win that TV title, and I would have been all for that, but instead we got Devon winning the TV title in, I guess you could say this is kind of like one of his more competitive matches, even though it didn't last too long.
There's two sides of this. Number one, Crimson went against Devon, which is a lower guy, obviously trying to make his career mean something by having the TV title. But the match was too short for it to do it for Crimson. It did more for Devon to get a win over someone as big as Crimson. This match was okay, but just nothing special for the belt.
I love the way Crimson was trying to obviously cheat in the match. I was like, oh, gotta get my undefeated streak back by cheating. Yeah, I'm a heel. There we go. And then after Devon wins the match, we get Madison Rayne coming out, and she makes out with Earl Hebner. I'm like, man, Earl Hebner's like the Teddy Long of TNA. He's a player.
That's very true. But I think as soon as I saw this, I thought of last week when we had Madison Rayne talking to Garrett Bishop. So I'm thinking maybe she's trying to get the referee behind her. So when the match actually does happen, we get Devon versus Garrett. she'll probably be more favour of Garrett.
Who really knows what's going to happen there? But after that, we had a promo segment with Chris Sabin talking about how his ACL injury is forcing him to retire. And just as we think this is going to be some kind of retirement speech, we get Bobby Roode coming out saying that Chris Sabin is pathetic like any other X Division wrestler. Aries is going to be taking the risk and getting no reward and having his career ended at Destination X. What a clever way to try and get heel heat on Bobby Roode, using Chris Sabin's injury as an X Division wrestler.
Well, that's the thing I like, because last year we had Abyss against the X Divisions. Now we've got Bobby Roode, another strong heel to take over. And the fact that he's mentioning how weak the X Division are, how they keep getting injuries like Sorensen, Sabin. He's actually getting his point across, like he is the true champion and everyone else is just below him. And the best thing happens after Mike's skill from both of them, Bobby Roode being great on Mike, he kicks down his crutches and down goes Sabin.
Yeah, he basically attacks the injured ACL. And then we get Austin Aries coming down, clearing the ring, which would eventually set up for our main event segment later that night. So an effective segment, in my opinion.
With Aries coming out, obviously he's still defending the X Division, even though he's moving up. It was very nicely done and teases more to do with Roode and Aries for their match at the pay-per-view. Very nicely done.
Which will be the main event of the pay-per-view, indeed. We got the first of our X Division qualifying matches of the evening. It was Dakota Darso versus Flip Casanova. Like I said, we don't really know too much about these guys. I know Dakota Darso was in one of last year's freeway qualifying matches, but you give your thoughts on this match and I'll chime in with some of mine.
Okay, again, I've been saying this in the past. Maybe they should have done small profiles before the match and just got into it. Because this match, I had to do Wikipedia and Google searches to find out more about these. And yes, they may be big names to some of you fans, but the match for me did not feel amazing or warmed up for an X Division worthy match.
I think the problem was Dakota Darso, in my opinion, could not keep up with Flip Casanova, whose real name I believe is Flip Kendrick from PWG or something like that, I'm not really sure. But I think the problem with this match for me was Flip Casanova looked quite sloppy, whereas Dakota Darso got that busted nose, and it was kind of like, it was an okay match. I mean, Flip Casanova, can do the flips and stuff, and that is what he's good at. But if he's sloppy in the ring, you can't really give him the X Division Championship because he's not going to be safe to work with.
No, and slowly, as you can see, we're getting these X Division wrestlers that you can see that are not going to win. They're just to fill up the card more and to be probably the ones who are taken out eventually.
That will probably be the case going into those qualifying matches. They followed up Taylor Hendricks with a video package. Yay! She's hot. I'm glad we saw her on TV.
Because the thing with her, they're really trying to hype her up as this new X Division. Because obviously, as we've heard, not X Division, Knockout, sorry. We've seen people leaving eventually, so they're filling up the place with these new ones. And if she's going to be one of the new ones to step in, all for it, keep showing her and keep bringing her in.
Yeah, they need to go over the fact that she's trying to make a statement, and that is what they did very well in this video package. After that, we had a Knockouts tag team match. It turns out that Gail Kim versus Tetchmaker from this week is now going to be moved to next week, in addition to Bully Ray versus Joseph Park and a couple of other matches we're going to get next week as well. So it looks like next week Impact is going to be very full up. There was some kind of reason contract, I can't remember what it was, but that we got a tag team match between Madison Rain and Gail Kim versus Tara and Tetchmaker, the old TNT tag team.
That's very true, because Gail Kim obviously, it's still got like eight days notice for the belt, whatever's going on, but that's been pushed aside. So we're still getting that match, but later. This match was pretty okay. To me, it looked like it was going to be a singles match, but came to a tag match. And the way they did it, it was a good match, but maybe not the best match. But when it came to the end, I quite liked it.
Yeah, I mean, it went about 3 minutes. You had Tetchmaker getting the win on Madison Rain. It doesn't make Gail Kim look weak going into the title match, but it makes Tetchmaker look strong. And one thing I took from this, I think, to be honest with you, Tetchmaker is going to need some compelling opponents down the line. Do you think they will turn Tara heel at some point? Maybe turn Mickie James heel to give us some big wins over some big knockouts? Do you reckon they may go down that route?
Well, I think before we build up to the next big pay-per-view, I think her tag partner would be a good person to go up against. And because obviously she is a great wrestler, two great people to work against, and then build up to Mickie James at a later pay-per-view.
That'll probably be the way they go around it. Maybe Mickie James versus Miss Tetchmaker at Bound for Glory or something like that, giving her a big win. That'll be good. We got our main event. AJ Styles addressing last week's accusations that he is, in fact, Claire Winch's baby's bastard father or something like that. It was a pretty short segment, wasn't it? I was expecting this to be a little bit longer, but we basically have AJ Styles talking about how Daniels was wrong about his accusations. pretty much. And then, out comes Daniel and Kaz saying they have some proof, blah, blah, blah. And then it gets to the point where at Destination X, AJ is going to shut him up once and for all. Because this time last year, it was about Daniels challenging him. But this year, it's AJ challenging Daniels. And for the second year in a row, we have AJ and Daniels at Destination X. One last time.
Pretty sad they're doing this, but the thing I like about this, compared to last week, there was all Dixie and AJ, blah, 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 segment after segment after segment. This was nice, short, sweet, set up the match that we're going to be getting later on. So, for what it was, it achieved its best, but there's one thing that we're going to be seeing probably on the next week's show, was that Daniels has proved that AJ is the father.
Oh, the plot thickens, but there we go. On to the next segment. We had a backstage segment with Hogan, and someone asked his predictions on the main event of Destination X, and we get an interestingly scruffy person coming in saying that we're not cowards. Here's, he basically hands Hogan a message, and we can't help but feel that it is, in fact, the Aces and Eights. Indeed there, guys. I know that is the other way, wrong way around, but the Aces and Eights are part of TNA Impact Wrestling right now, aren't they?
Very clever name. Obviously, the Aces are meant to play a bad side to stuff. And the thing about this is, obviously, it is what we've been waiting for. A follow-up of Sting's attack, and they're coming after someone else. Who's next? You tell us in the comment section below.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be Hogan, isn't it? From what they teased this week. But, yeah, I mean, you can follow them on Twitter. The Aces and Eights, there's a pretty good Twitter to follow. It's good that they're giving this Sting thing some follow-up, and it's actually quite compelling, isn't it? This backstage segment felt kind of like real.
You may question why is it happening now when it's on the going to a pay-per-view, but they're warming it up because next week we're getting the appearance of these attackers one more time.
Yeah, and they're going to make a statement. We've got a lot lined up for next week. In our next X Division qualifier match, we had Lars Only, who we believe is Johnny Yuma of PWG, versus Ring of Honor Tag Team Champion, part of All Night Express, Kenny King. It was interesting to see Kenny King on there, wasn't it, on today's show?
It was, because when we go into this match, we know from the history of what he's done, he is playing the champion in his own show. But now he's coming onto this, and you're like, okay, he's just going to probably job out and get the win to someone else. But surprise, surprise, they swerved that. Surprised us with the win, Kenny King.
I mean, despite a couple of sloppy moments, it's probably is because they've never really faced in the ring before. They put on a good 5-minute match, and I'm sitting here thinking, with the post-match interview they did and that backstage interview, a backstage segment they had with Kenny King and Austin Aries, out of all the people I've seen so far, Kenny King is by far the most accomplished, the best looking, all that kind of the best, he's just got the best mic skills. He's got the best complete package out of all the X Division guys I've seen so far, all the new ones.
That's the thing, because with this match, I just saw quality, good moves, something to look forward to in X Division matches. So I'm really hoping that he goes on to the X Division match at the pay-per-view and has a big chance of winning. I know he's doing his own stuff in another show, but he's definitely someone that I want to look out for. I
mean, if there was one person you wanted to win, it would probably be Kenny King. And it'll be interesting to see, because he's the ROH Tag Team Champion. Will ROH allow him to go on TNA TV and win the X Division Championship? Who really knows?
If it's not him, we were looking more at Dart as well and Ions. So we do have backups if he doesn't win, but I would like to see him go further.
And also, there is still an 8th spot available. Any ideas who could take this one? You give us your thoughts down in the comment section. Could it be Joey Ryan? You never really know. It's an interesting little thing going into the pay-per-view, even though they didn't really mention it too much.
No, we had this, again, I'm going to plug TNA were doing it. He said on Twitter that he couldn't fly over, he hadn't got the money for this, but he'll be here soon.
I'm sure if TNA cough up the money, he will quite gladly wear that X Division Championship, but there we go. In our main event match of the evening, we had James Storm versus Jeff Hardy. Now, they built this up with 2 video packages, basically with James Storm and Jeff Hardy saying why they want to win the Bound for Glory series. You've got, Jeff Hardy wants to add freshness to the title. James Storm wants to get vengeance on Bobby Roode. So you had some good video package hype there for this main event, didn't you?
Because that is true. We had it hyped from last week, mentioned last week going up to this, because Hogan was really putting this match over. Video packages making this match important and their future in this Bound for Glory series. Just really warming this match up. Really.
Yeah, the Bound for Glory series match. The one thing I can say here is the crowd were really into this one, weren't they? They were cheering, "Let's go Hardy! Let's go Cowboy!" Pretty much throughout the whole match. And this match got a good amount of time. It got 13 minutes, even though it had a commercial break in there. from what I saw of it, it was still a pretty good match, and I think the right person definitely won this one as well. With James Storm being so far ahead, I think this is where you definitely needed to have Hardy get some kind of win over James Storm.
Because that's the thing, going into these matches, I did question, obviously, Storm's place and his point-wise. So for Jeff Hardy, who's still below him, for Storm to actually lose, it definitely gave me hope that things will change, and obviously Storm to eventually still go on and win.
And the faces shake hands, so Jeff Hardy gets 7 points. A pretty good main event match, in my opinion, between the two. The crowd were really into it, which shows you really that they are the two top baby faces in TNA right now, in my opinion.
Yes.
Judging by crowd reaction. We had also had a video package towards the end of the show of the infamous angle headbutting Samoa Joe segment they had on Impact a couple of years back. And this Sunday is going to be Bound for Glory series match between Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle. That should be a pretty good match at the pay-per-view.
It's definitely be a good match. The only sad thing is, on a Garden show, you do want them to actually have an appearance or match-wise. I know they did a lot in this show. I'm taking nothing away from that. But with these two big names, it would have been better if they had a backstage segment or a warm-up match.
It would have been good, but I guess it's a Bound for Glory series match, so I don't know, that's all I'm going to say about that. It turns out Bound for Glory is also going to be in Phoenix, Arizona. I can only hope that it's going to be more like the crowd was in Dallas for Slammiversary and not Nashville for Lockdown. That's all I can hope for that one.
So for you people that are there, get the tickets and go to it. Tell us all about the quality of seeing it live.
Bound for Glory is going to be a good one, guys, so you better get your tickets down there. We also got the announced pay-per-view match card. And we got loads of stuff for next week's show, didn't we? Including they had this video package for Anderson versus Kurt Angle in a Bound for Glory series match next week. So we got a lot of stuff lined up for next week. God, I've got the pay-per-view to look forward to. Then next week's Impact, which kind of feels like an Impact 2-hour pay-per-view to me right
That's
now.
very true. Not seeing Angle or Anderson live on the show. Yes, they don't really have pay-per-view matches, but there's still two big names that weren't on the show. But at least we got the announcement of what they're going to happen next week, so that takes away the quality of them not being there. And it's all aiming up to next week, which is definitely a show to watch out for.
Yeah, Destination X and next week looking like two good shows. Also in the video package had Angle and Anderson talking about how each other was and how good each other was and how they both raised each other's games. And it was pretty good, despite the fact they weren't on the show.
And Angle really needs to put Anderson over, because obviously Anderson still needs to look like he's an important character in the company. But Angle to do it, very nicely done there.
Indeed. In our main event of the evening then, we had Austin Aries relinquishing the X Division Championship. We had Hulk Hogan calling out Austin Aries, but instead out comes Bobby Roode, saying how he is the real World Heavyweight Champion, and the only reason Aries got this opportunity is because of Hulk Hogan, and Hogan is giving people false hope and false promises.
Oh gosh, he's really inspired tonight. I'm really enjoying Roode a lot.
Yeah.
And he goes on with his great mic skills, talk to Hogan, and all Hogan has to do is this, because out comes Austin Aries.
Indeed, and it turns out Austin Aries also had an option C for this segment. Basically, option C was, I'm going to smack you with the X Division Championship belt, and I'm going to hold the X Division and the World Heavyweight Champion belt up in TNA. And great mic work by Aries, great mic work by Bobby Roode, and it really got me hyped up for the match at Destination X, which I'm really looking forward to now for this segment.
Very true. Even though they had to rush it a bit, because they had about 2 minutes left for this, Aries did great, quick mic skill, got to the point, and what a beautiful picture to end with both titles in his hand before Hogan took the X Division away.
Pretty much. Great segment to end the show for the main event of Destination X involving the X Division, or former X Division champion, Austin Aries. What were your thoughts on this show? I have a feeling you pretty much enjoyed this show.
Oh, very much so. Yes, there was like rest that should have been there, but look past that. The Crimson Devon thing was bad, could have been better, but I can look past that, because the rest of the show, oh my gosh, TNA have really set this on fire before the pay-per-view, so very nicely done there.
We have some good hype for Destination X, which is going to be like an X Division pay-per-view with mostly over the X Division Championship, which I'm looking forward to. They managed to hype up a lot of stuff for next week as well, kind of like, because they got an X Division pay-per-view and they kind of think they need to put some of the other stuff on the TV show, which they couldn't put on the Destination X show. So, a really entertaining show this week. We had a lot of variation on the card. Build up to Destination X, build up to next week. I can't really complain at all, really. A great main event match, a great main event segment. Most segments made sense, and I really can't complain about this week's show. It's very good.
And we're probably going to get a surprise at the pay-per-view of who this missing member for the match is.
Yeah, who's going to be the 8th guy? Who really knows? Make sure you check out our Destination X preview video, which will be up this Saturday. We're going to give our thoughts on the Destination X pay-per-view. But for now, this show was very good. We're hoping Destination X is going to be good because it is looking very good right now. You should put your thoughts on this show down in that comment section below, and I'm going to hand you over to the lovely NJ.
All I'm going to say, people, to wrap this up is the Ace of Spades! The Ace of Spades! From Mr. Parkin and me, NJ. Enjoy the pay-per-view. Until next time, goodbye.